Test 1, 2. All right, good evening, everybody. Appreciate you being here tonight. For those of you that are here in person, for those of you that are watching this live streaming on YouTube, and those of you that will catch me another day or a week or so later, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I'm excited because we're coming back to it. All right, we're going to refuel, we're going to rekindle our facilities discussions throughout the district, and tonight's like the kickoff to that. I was sitting down talking to a friend the other day, and he said, you know what, Mr. Knoll, our buildings aren't getting any better as we're sitting here today. And he was right. And that's okay, because tonight is the beginning of laying out the groundwork, the foundation on moving forward and what we have in store for Canfield. So we've earmarked about an hour. I'm not sure we're going to need or take all that, but here's the agenda for tonight. I'm going to spend some time talking about our facility survey results with you. Touched on them a little bit the last board meeting. I'm going to get a little more in depth tonight. I'm also going to talk later on here about how to get involved and how to get all the resources. And our friends from TDA are going to come up to the podium and talk a little bit about facility planning and the process and the roadmap and try to bring all this together for you. So let me get started then by just talking a little bit more in depth about our survey. So first of all, we put this survey out over the summer. We wanted to kind of get an idea about the bond levy we put up in May, try to get an idea on what our community's thoughts were on obviously why it was defeated. I put this out with our Cardinal communique in the summer, which goes to all of our stakeholders in the district. Okay, everybody that's a registered voter gets that, which is an awesome piece of communication. We put stuff out on our district social media pages and our website. And we ran that, as you can see there, July 6th to the 29th. And at the end of the day, just an amazing response, okay? Over 1,200 folks weighed in, which is exactly what I was looking for personally. So the goals were really twofold. Number one, get a better understanding of where our community was at, okay? What their thoughts and feelings were on the bond levy that was up in May. And then just, get an idea about how we're going to start this process over again. What's it going to look like? All right, going back to square one, moving forward, collect some information, collect some thoughts, and try to come up with a plan that we can all support here in Canfield. So the first questions were a lot of demographics. So as you can see there, 82% of us were registered voters, 74% residents, 51% of parents with kids weighed in, which is awesome, 24% graduated from Canfield. And people like me, 10% of us were employees, don't live in Canfield, but employees. And as you can see by the age of the respondents, this is what I assumed would happen, about 64% of the folks that weighed in are school-age type parents, school-age kids. So that was good to see. And then, like I said at the last board meeting, thank you, ladies. 66% of you weighed in, which I appreciate. So here's a question that we threw out there. So school district put that ballot on, okay, the bond levy on in May for a new elementary, middle school, and a few other pieces and parts as well. How much news, how much information did you hear about it? And as you can see there, 44% of us said we got a lot of good information, a great deal of us. Another 36%, I got a moderate amount, and then you can see 19 said I just got a little, and 1% said they got none at all. But the good news here is about 80% of our folks, the 1,200 folks that weighed in, said, I got a pretty good amount of information, okay? Which, as a superintendent, is good news. That's one of my main jobs, to make sure I get that information out, educate our folks. Obviously, the levy committee was part of that as well, making sure Canfield knew what they were voting on as far as the levy itself. So next question, how'd you get most of your information? And on this one, we said, hey, pick all that apply to you. So as you're working your way down from top to bottom, you can see Facebook. All right, Facebook was humming. All right, that's the place to go. All right, 58% weighed in there, another 56% word of mouth. Direct mailings, 34%. I'm assuming that was the levy committee and stuff that came from my office. Our district website came in at 33%. And I'll be honest with you, I want those numbers for our district website to be better next round, okay? I need to get people there because that's where we're going to be the keeper of the information starting tonight, okay? And we'll come back to that in a little bit, but I want that number to be that 58 or higher, okay, next time. The support Canfield Schools was the levy committee. My newsletter weighed in at 25%, which was good. 19% said meetings like this, whether it was a community meeting or a board meeting, and then other venues as well, about 12% there. So once again, I'm hoping to get more people to our district website. That's the plan, okay? Next question. What were the primary reasons you feel the bond levy failed? And this one, you could select all you wanted to. So I will concur with the top two 100% from what I heard from people talking to me. So the data you see there and what I heard is exactly the same. Number one, too much money. Plain and simple. Almost 80% said it's too much. Remember, $108 million, elementary, middle. We put a bus garage in there. We had renovations to the high school. We wanted an extra gym. So that committee, when we were talking and meeting, one thing they kept saying is, we want to put something in there that everybody can connect to. It's a good idea, okay? Not going to fault our committee at all for that. But at the end of the day, too much money, okay? And then number two was, we don't like going to Redgate, okay? Plain and simple. And as you can see there, lack of information weighed in at about 50%. Safety concerns by going to Redgate. Some folks, 27% said, I'm not too happy about that single campus idea. And then another was, and I talked to Emily, it was maybe folks, because there was some extended response, maybe had 2 or 3 ideas at one, but they were very similar to what you see there. And then there are some folks, 13% said our facilities are okay. Next question. This might be the most interesting question to me in the whole survey. All right, so do you support consolidating the elementary and middle school, or do you prefer them as separate entities as they currently are? Almost a dead heat, okay? And then 23% said, I'm not really sure. As I looked this over, this is an amazing opportunity for somebody like me to educate some people, okay? We're going to talk a lot about this moving forward. What are the pros and cons of consolidation? What are the cost savings? What are the staffing opportunities, shared service opportunities amongst us in the district? And then especially that 23% that says, I'm not really sure what that crazy Mr. Knowles is even talking about. All right, that gives me a lot of good information there. I got to spend more time talking about this moving forward as well, so our community understands the pluses and the minuses to that. And if you're an educator and you work in a building maybe at another district that might look like this, you already know that and live it every day. But we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that moving forward as well. How about this one? So in general, how do you view the current conditions for each of the following facilities? I highlighted one thing in red there, all right, Canfield Red. 75% of those 1,200 folks said that middle school is in a bad way. Can I be honest with you? It's in a bad way. All right, I'm in the part that's 100 years old. That's where my office is, so I live this every day. It's good that people understand that in Canfield, because I know sometimes you drive by the buildings, they look good, the buses are running. Sometimes you don't see exactly what's going on. Now, I know when the kids go home and talk about, Mrs. Altero's roof collapsing with the water, that word gets out. Okay, I know I don't got to sell that too hard, but that's good for me to see. Our community understands that middle school specifically is in a bad way. Some other things that jumped out to me, when you look at the 2 elementary schools, you have a lot of unsures, like that 16%, 12% for elementaries. We still got some folks that, I'm not sure what's going on in there. Maybe I haven't been in there in 20, 30 years. I'm hearing some things. So between no opinion and unsure, once again, I think there's some educational opportunities there. And we're going to try to take advantage of that. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this later, but we're going to get you to these buildings through this whole campaign. We're going to have meetings there. Okay, like our next meeting's not going to be here. It's going to be in one of those 2 buildings at the elementary. We're going to get you in there. We're going to talk about the building itself as far as what's going on, but also give you a chance to take a tour. And it won't be a 2-hour tour or like Gilligan's where you're out there for 3 hours, but we want to get you to the critical places in each one of those buildings so you can take a look. So that was good data for me. Here's another one. Which of the following options do you support for the district's elementary and middle school buildings? As you can see there, the red, I'm not quite sure. All right, the gray, build a new one. And the black is, let's just look at some renovations. So once again, the middle school numbers, very comparable, all right? Overwhelming majority say, hey, we got to get something new there. You can see Hilltop, okay? 29% unsure. 29%. Okay, once again, teachable moment here for yours truly. Same thing for CH in the 27%. But you can see Hilltop over 54% say, let's just renovate that building. Okay. Now, there's no high school on there purposefully, because if you remember, the board's directive with the high school was it's going to stay as it is with some renovations. Okay, and that's the part that we talked about, and that's the plan moving forward as well. Okay, specific renovations for the building that you're sitting in right now, moving forward. So I'll put this question in there because this was one that always interests me. Compared to what you see around Canfield, all right, how do you think we stack up? All right, are we just as good, same, unsure? Because there are people in Canfield that if you don't have kids that play basketball or wrestle or in speech or debate, you never get into another building unless you might work there. Okay, so to me, I wanted to see where's our folks at here. So 62% said, well, our buildings here in Canfield aren't as good as those around us. And you can see going down 24 the same, 10% saying, well, I'm not really sure. Maybe I don't get out very much, don't get a chance to see them. And 4% of people said our buildings are better than those around us, okay, based on that question. This is the one that is the game changer for me, all right? As we're talking about new buildings, what's going to drive the decisions moving forward, okay? And as an educator, and some of you I know are educators in the room, this is the answer I would have expected in Canfield, and I'm glad we see it, okay? The most important factor needs to be around teaching and learning and education. We're going to design and build and equip buildings based on our educational philosophy and strategy here in Canfield. And I love seeing that right there. And you also got my heart on the number 2 one, okay? You guys have heard me talk. I'm big on the school safety piece. And obviously, new and improved buildings are going to be awesome when it comes to school safety. A lot of features we don't have that will bring. And number 3 didn't surprise me either. Hey, I want to get a good bang for my buck, right? We get that, understand that. Other 11%, and there's a group of people that say, hey, you know what? I want those neighborhood schools. 10% of us said that, and a small group, 2%, said, man, I'm not quite sure what those factors might be. But great question for me, great response from Canfield, not surprised here at all. This is what I would have expected. All right. So I'm going to turn it over to our good friends, this is Cheryl from TDA, to come up and talk to you.
Do I just hit the space bar to advance?
I always do that down arrow.
Your down arrow, okay. I have to adjust for my height. Good evening. My name's Cheryl Fisher. I'm an educational and master planner with Venn Design Architecture. I want to talk to you a little bit about the master planning process and why this is going to be a little different from the last year. As Mr. Knoll said, I want to reiterate, this is a restarting point as of tonight. 100% clean slate. We have no preconceived ideas on a master plan. One of the things we learned through this is the importance that this master plan needs to be community driven, okay? It needs to be developed through citizens in the community, through your lens, identifying what the priorities are and the associated costs. So, does everybody here understand what a master plan is? Does anybody not know what a master plan is? No? Okay. Well, for those at home, I'm just going to briefly, one statement. Think of it as a roadmap that outlines building improvements for decades to come. So not just the short term, but also the long term. It could be renovations, it could be additions, it could be new construction, it could be consolidation. It could be a combination of all of those. But essentially, it's a roadmap for improvements. So let's talk about a little bit about why now. And Mr. Knoll, you struck on it really at the head. We can talk a lot about dollars and cents, and that really, ultimately comes into play. But number one, that the facilities properly support our educational program, not only now, but we want it to support them for decades to come. As mentioned, the middle school is 100 years old. Think about that, how much education, teaching, and how much we've learned about how students learned has changed in 100 years. I would go a step further and say the last 20 years advanced and progressed at a faster rate than the previous 80 years before. So that is the number one goal, to support the educational programs. That's what schools should do. Now let's go back to the financial, the dollars and cents. You know, as a school district, we're responsible for the taxpayers' money to ensure that we are spending our money wisely on the facilities, ensuring our investments, the buildings, are well managed, and again, as I just mentioned, appropriately planning for the long term. Some more why nows. We know that doing nothing is not an option. We've reached a point where our facilities needs, because of our aging facilities, especially the middle school, are now outweighing the financial ability to keep up with those needs. It has absolutely nothing to do with lack of maintenance or taking care of. Think about, you know, your car. When you buy a car, you know, you don't have a lot of problems with it. You do your regular maintenance, but at some point, things begin to fail. In buildings, I don't care if it's a school, a hospital, an office building, our homes, systems over time begin to fail. So now we're at a point, and I'm not saying replacement is the answer or renovation, but we're at a point, at a crossroads, where we have to make some important decisions about the next steps forward and how to, you know, take that tax money, those dollars, and invest them wisely for the long term. We learned through this last process, and Mr. Knoll, again, you touched base on it, you know, in the survey results, how important it is to communicate with the committee that represents the community about the condition of the building. I think we took for granted a little bit that people understood, that they knew about some of the challenges in the elementary school buildings or the high school, just because they're newer buildings. And it's not just about the challenges. We want to understand what's working too, right? We want to know the pros and cons to make a better educated master plan. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. And then lastly, rising construction costs. So history has taught us, as time goes on, costs increase. It's really that simple. We're in a very sensitive time right now in the economy. Everybody is hyper aware of the inflation, the market conditions, and everything that's going on. So I wanted to give you this chart that kind of graphically depicts what's going on in the market compared to where we were, you know, 10 years ago. I'm going to go up to this because I cannot see from here. So this chart represents school construction cost per square foot over the last 10 years for the Youngstown area. I should have sourced this. These dollar amounts are from the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. That's where the data came from. If you look at this chart, going back to 2012 and going 7 years over till 2019, our construction cost back in 2012 was about $222 a square foot. This is again based on a 600-student middle school in the Youngstown area. By the time we hit 2019, we were at $256 a square foot. That's a $34 increase over 7 years. That averages to probably between 1% and 3% inflation each year, which is, you know, what we would expect. Now, let's go forward here to the last 4 years. We all know what happened in 2020. Our lives changed in every single aspect, as well as the construction market. From 2019, again, that $256 a square foot has now increased to $387 a square foot. That is a $131 per square foot cost increase in the last 4 years, and that equates to about a 52% rise in construction costs. The point is not to scare you. We hope that this, the market tames down, but again, historically, what we do know is that the costs never go 100% back. As time continues, the cost will increase. Lastly, again, another graphic to outline the master planning process, the center being, think of it as the master plan. The circles around the master plan, think of them like the spokes of the wheel. There's all the inputs. I'm not going to dive deep into this right now, but just to give you some understanding of the data you're going to be looking at to make an informed master plans. Options include looking at, again, educational adequacy. how the buildings respond to the educational program. Building condition, what are our needs? What are our challenges? What is working? What are the costs associated to all of these? Enrollment projections, we don't want to underbuild or overbuild, regardless if it's a renovation, a new construction, a consolidation, or whatnot. Again, to be fiscally responsible with the taxpayers' money, we want to be right-sized. And lastly, I just want to touch base on that word, that agency I threw out earlier, the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. They are a partner with Canfield Schools in providing some state matching dollars as a future credit. In order to get a credit, and I think what is ours right now, at 9%? 16%, okay, 16%. 16 cents on every dollar. There are some regulations and policies, guidelines that we do need to meet. So our job at TDA is to give the committee, the community, all of this information that you can analyze through your lens, not ours, not the school districts, to create some informative master plan options that you feel meet the district needs and will be digestible and acceptable to the community.
All right, so let's get down to business here. Let's talk a little bit about what this roadmap's going to look like. So you can see the first box there, October to December. So our plan is we're going to take a look at all of our buildings, and we are going to have specific meetings, and I'm going to share that with you in a minute here, at all those buildings. You're going to hear the principals talk, like Cheryl mentioned, about the pros and cons of what's going on in their building. TDA is going to be there as well to talk about the OFCC assessments and what those things look like. I might have a word or two to share. We'll have to wait and see what that looks like. But we're going to spend some time specifically in each building talking about their pluses and minuses, what's going on in there, and once again, taking building tours. For those of you folks that want to stick around and do that, we would love to do that. So that's the next 3 months, okay? That's going to take us through December. And then when you get to January, this meeting I have never experienced, but this is what I'm looking forward to the most, okay? But we're calling this educational visiting session, all right? This will be a one-day, an all-day activity. It's going to be held in January, date and place to be determined. But this is going to be like the kickoff to this whole building project and coming up with a master plan moving forward. This is where we sit down, and we go back to what I talked about earlier, okay? What is the vision? What are the goals of teaching and learning in Canfield? And based on that, on what comes out of there, all right, how do you build buildings to support those initiatives? All right, so I'll come back to this, but this to me is what it's all about, okay? This is the teaching and learning piece. This is where the rubber's going to hit the road, and this is going to drive this whole master plan project moving forward. We get to January through April. This is when our facilities committee is going to be meeting and talking and investigating all these different kinds of options, looking at the different costs, looking at pros and cons, looking at the sites that we have in the district to move forward. So that takes us through April. All right, then I don't have a crystal ball, but my hope is this. If everything goes as planned and we're moving and it's smooth sailing, hopefully we get to April and that committee is able to make a recommendation to the Board of Education. Now, I will say this publicly tonight, just to make sure everybody understands the expectations here, all right? This committee will do what it's empowered to do, make a recommendation to the board, but at the end of the day, the board will make the final decision on moving forward with a master plan project. I want to be clear, okay? So that's what's brewing in the next 6 months or so to get to April. Now, with this understanding, this is an awesome roadmap, but like I said, no crystal ball. So let's say things slow down a little bit and we have a couple bumps in the road. There's nothing wrong with this having to be extended, okay? This is not a thou shalt kind of roadmap here. Full disclosure, this is my hope, because what this does is this sets us up for a master plan bond levy a year down the road from where we're sitting at today, if that makes sense to everybody. That would be my hope and goal and plan moving forward through this whole roadmap concept. But like I said, a lot of things can go one way or the other, but I'm hopeful this is where we land, and come April of 23, we're ready to sit down and share with the board, here's our thoughts on this master plan moving forward. So let's talk a little bit about these building get-togethers and meetings. Here are the dates that we put together. All right, and we'll keep publicizing this, getting this out on the webpage and all that good stuff. But on October 19th, and we'll plan about an hour or so again, we're going to be over at Hilltop. Okay, that's our plan. Like I said, building principal is going to talk. Well, TDA there. We'll talk about OFC stuff. Maybe have some of our custodians, maintenance people there. Maybe I'll share a few words as well. October 19th. Week later, October 26th, we're going to be at C.H. Campbell. On November the 16th, we're going to be at the middle school. And then on December the 7th, we'll be back here at the high school to talk about pros and cons, good, bad things going on here at the high school as well. So let me talk a little bit more about this day here. Like I said, never been through this, heard of other districts that have done it, superintendent colleagues of mine have been through it. This is the game changer event, all right? This is the kickoff, and this is when we start getting excited, okay? When we get to here in January, it's game time, okay? Like I said, day-long event. People at the table, I see administrators, I see our staff, I see students, I see parents, I see community leaders, some local government officials here at the table, and obviously our friends from TDA who will be facilitating the whole day. But this activity, right, the goal of this day is to set the foundation for the entire master planning process, all right? This will be an invitation, okay, type of event, all right? And I'm not sure if we decided on a number yet, but, maybe 50 to 100 people getting together, meeting in small groups, having some really good conversations on what does this facility project look like in Canfield, okay? January, it's coming. So let's talk a little bit about this facility planning committee. So as you know, we had a group of people together for the last campaign, so some of the goals and purposes of that group are going to be the same here. So when this group gets together, we're going to evaluate data, look at the dollars and cents, okay, to talk about our facilities, take a look at the impact of a well-designed architectural building in other school districts, investigate all the different master plan options and the dollar signs that go along with it, identify and address specific community concerns, and we had a lot of them last round, okay, and I'm sure there'll be some that come up again this round, but be able to chat and talk about that a little bit, and then hopefully, like I said, at the end of the day, consensus says, hey, we have a master plan, recommendation for the board, hopefully in April of 23 moving forward. So let's talk about how you can get involved. All right, so here's the first thing. This is an open invitation from yours truly to join us in the Facility Planning Committee. Okay, now, here's my only ask. I would ask that you be committed to attending meetings. There's not going to be 100 of them. Don't get me wrong, but 10, 12, 15, whatever the number is, I would ask that you give me a commitment that you're going to come. When you don't, you kind of get behind a little bit, and sometimes things get bogged down. But if we can get a good committee of people who are committed and say, hey, Mr. Knoll, I'm in, just tell me what day, what time, brother, I'm there. We're looking at these being in person, to be honest with you, unless we get some problems, but I'm hoping to do these in person, okay, initially to get the ball rolling, okay? Commitment. That's what I need. Okay? You say, well, Mr. Knoll, love it. I'm with you, but I just can't commit. That's okay. If you can say, you know what, I'm going to get involved by attending these community awareness meetings that are coming up in the next 3 weeks, I'll take you. All right? Get committed. Get involved. Do that. If you say, well, I'm not sure I can even do that, that's okay. All right? If you can come and participate in that educational visiting session in January, and that's maybe the only thing you can do, and you're part of that group and you're selected, invited to come, then please do, all right? If you say, Mr. Knoll, I'm all in, I just got a lot going on, I can't really commit to any of that, that's okay. Here's my last ask for you. Check us out on our district webpage, and I'm going to show you where to go here in a minute. Spend some time looking at all the stuff that we put in there. Now, we did this last round, and I know Renee's in the house here. We put a lot of stuff on that website. I think maybe sometimes it was overwhelming, but that's just what I want to do, okay? We're going to put it all on there, starting with what you're seeing and reading about tonight. But get involved. If that's the only commitment you can give me, I'll take it. All right, moving forward. So here's what this looks like. So if you go to our district webpage, you're going to see something like this. And then you're going to come down here and you're going to see a new box that Ms. Renee just put in there. And it says Facility Resources. And when you click on that, you're going to see something like this over here to the right. All right. My PowerPoint's going to be on there, or Google Slides, I should say, is going to be on there tonight. And then you can go right here and you can say, all right, Mr. Knoll, I'm in. I want to be on that facilities committee. Sign me up. And when you click on that, there'll be a little Google thing, little sheet there. You can fill everything out, and you're in. Okay? We'll connect with you and let you know what's going on. Okay, now, how about this? You ready? If I'd have sold this to you, grab your phone and take a picture of that thing right there. This is 21st century at its best. That will take you to the Google document. Somebody put your hand up, tell me it worked before I get too crazy here. No service. Oh, no. I got some thumbs up. Awesome. Thank you. Awesome. There's a couple on the front. I love it. All right, so you're in. You fill that thing out. All right, this is 21st century right now. I wish I could tell you this was my idea, but I'd be lying. All right, I'm sorry. I'm not quite here yet. But it's good to talk about. Our friends from TDA are all over this. Was this Ryan? Where are you, Ryan? My brother in the back there. Well done. So, bam, you're in. Sign up, okay, and you're good. Another thing that we really want to do here is, and we did this last campaign, we want to keep track of all the questions and the answers that come into play. So if you go back here a couple, down here at the bottom, you see where it says, I have a question. You click on that, the question comes right to us, okay? And Renee, that goes right to my email address, is that right? Okay, so they're all going to come to me. So between Renee and I, she's our communications guru, where you get all this stuff posted, and we want to keep a running tab of all the questions that come up and all the answers that we put on there from tonight moving on, okay, all the way through the process. So that's our roadmap. That's our plan. Like I said, excited to be in front of you today here in September and get this train running and working with the community to come up with a plan that we can get some facilities rolling here in Canfield. So you can fire questions online right now. I'll be around. I'll stick around here for a couple of minutes. I'm sure our friends from TDA will be here as well. So if you want to come down and chat anymore. But thank you for your attention tonight, and thank you for coming either in person or online or days or weeks later. So thank you again. Have a good evening.